You've done your duty there.
That's it? That's all I think to do. No, Louis, you want to introduce our guest?
Yeah, this is Stan Foster. He's part of a company called Park Resources, and he's going to be our facilitator for our strategic plan. And he'll break down some of the later steps, but this is the initial planning phase for this process between council and staff, and then from here on there'll be some additional community pieces, correct?
That's right.
And I'm going to turn it over to Stan.
Thanks, Louis. I appreciate the chance to be with you tonight, and thanks for the introduction. I want to just go over a proposed agenda, and keep in mind that this process is your process. So I'm your outside facilitator, so if you don't like the process, let's change the process. But typically what we'd like to do is, we do the welcome. What I like to do is do a SWOT analysis. Some of you probably had some pretty miserable experiences with that. Some of you had some good experiences with that. A SWOT analysis is simply to look at your community and evaluate the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities for the community, and the threats to the community. And the threats are typically things that if we don't address them, that they'll come up and bite us on the rear end and impede our development as a community, or keep positive things from happening. So with your indulgence, I'd like to do that process tonight. And then I'd like to ask the city departments to go through their goals. Then I'd like to, yeah, go ahead, Glenn.
One of my requirements is that you identify what your acronyms mean. What does SWOT mean?
Yeah, strength, weakness, opportunity, threats. Yeah. So the departmental goals, and then go to council goals. And just to keep it in mind, we're really looking at, as the mayor said earlier before the meeting, we're really looking at a five-year period, but there's likely that we'll have things that we can't get done in the 5 years, but we don't want to let them go to the side, so we may just roll those into the next 5 years. And there may be things that we can't do in a decade that we may want to not lose, so we may have another long-term. So this may be short-term, mid-term, long-term. So however you want to describe it. What we're envisioning here is that, as Louis said, this is the first work session. And the importance of this for me as your facilitator is to get this SWOT information, get these goals, so I have an understanding of what the parameters are before we go out to a public meeting where we ask for the community to come in and give us their vision of Oakridge for the next 5 years and the next 10 years. But it's really important, in order for me to be effective as your community facilitator, is sort of understand what's doable, what's not doable. There's always somebody that has a pet project that is their project. They've been carrying that project. It may be something we can't get done. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on those kinds of things that we can't do. I want us to focus on what we can do. And so after that first public meeting, I would suggest, and this is, I talked to your city administrators about this this afternoon, is have another work session with you to go over where we think we're at and sort of fine tune this down. That work session would set the stage for us to go back and draft the strategic plan based on tonight, the first public meeting, the work session that follows up, so that when we go out to the public for the final presentation, that we've got a plan that we can go over and show the public what we're thinking. And ideally that plan, would come back to you at a city council meeting, would be adopted through your process here. So this needs to reflect your objectives, not some consultant out of Bend, or I could be worse, I could be out of Portland, but sorry. A little editorial comment, sorry. So is this okay to take this approach? Okay, so I'm gonna ask the Thorns to help me out there. We got an office over by Pendleton where Mike and Jill Thorne live, so it's they sometimes can be Thorns too. But would you mind putting this up on the wall back there?
And we're gonna get all this done in about half an hour.
We're gonna go as fast as you wanna go, as fast as I can write. So, let's talk about, you finding my pins, okay? You got that? So,
Is that mine?
let's talk about the strengths. The strengths. What are the,
Not you.
You'll have to help me out.
so there's no right or wrong answer. Just jump in here and tell me what you think the strengths of Oakridge. Weather.
Yeah, the weather.
Weather, okay.
Believe it or not.
I'd say location.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Um,
Our recreation, outdoor recreation.
right.
Louis, did you want to say anything about our low crime rate or our high crime rate?
Actually, in this economy, it is a low crime rate.
A nice place to live.
Good schools.
Okay.
Yep.
A lot of people look at it as a perfect distance from Eugene.
Accessibility was what I was gonna
Close
say.
enough to get there, get down to the Holt for a performance, but get back to the good country. Yeah, the town, yeah.
The people.
Yeah, the people, there you go.
The accessibility also is part of it. So.
Are there untapped natural resources? I mean, back when the mills were operating, we knew what our natural resource base was, but those days are sort of come and gone all over the state. Are there some resources that we have here, some strengths that we're not capitalizing on, that are not don't fit in those categories?
The OIP.
The Oakridge Industrial Park.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's industrial park.
And how big is the industrial park, ballpark?
Well, we've got cleaned up about 80 acres.
Okay, and cleaned up, is that because it was a Brownsfield site?
That is correct.
Okay, and you're getting some assistance with Brownsfield money from?
That is correct. Well, we have our NFA letters on it already.
Oh, perfect, okay.
So no further action letters have already been issued.
Okay. This is important because part of the strategic plan should identify resources that are available to you to implement the plan. So the fact that you've had brownfield money and got the site cleaned up sets you up for other investments from EDA because there's money specifically to repurpose brownfield sites once they're cleaned up. So,
And Rayetta, do we want to mention anything about a railroad stop at this time, or the railroad coming through here?
I wouldn't yet because it's just in such a
Just the start.
first stages. If it was closer to reality, I would say yes. We are working with Amtrak to get.
so it doesn't stop in Oakridge now?
No.
Okay.
But now, could we get would any of the freight stop here if we had something that was worth nothing? Huh?
No, but they might. At one time, we had a proposal to put something in at the industrial park
That rail spur.
Utilize a rail spur, it's $1 million fix. But Union Pacific did say that they would pick up any cars that were there. So I guess that's kind of stuff.
Go ahead.
So like the mayor said, we did complete a rail spur study of the Oakridge Industrial Park.
Okay.
Are we talking about all resources? What are we talking about?
We're talking about anything. If I was a prospective businessman coming to Oakridge, and you were giving me the elevator speech, all these elements should be in that. I mean, and whatever you think is the most significant thing for people who want to be here in Oakridge. Does that answer your question, or is that just confusing it?
Well, I'll throw this out. I think we have a potential geothermal resource.
Oh, okay, yeah.
6,000 feet down.
Huh?
Say 6,000 feet down, but we got it.
I still need to determine what that distance is, 6,000.
Yeah, that was already determined. That came in and wanted to put in the geothermal plant out there. That's why it did 6,000.
Who made the determination of 6,000?
Check on the geothermal, wasn't there a study done back in 1993 in regards to geothermal?
And was it determined to be non-feasible at that time or feasible?
Well, basically non-feasible because of the cost involved and the small amounts that they came across. They did some drills locally, went down a long ways. I believe it was around 6,000 feet. And that kind of, there was a pretty extensive study done.
Yeah.
They were talking,
Well,
piping, geothermal around Oakridge and different things. But it didn't seem feasible at the time.
They've issued permits on the Newberry crater to put that demonstration geothermal well down there. Us folks that fish Newberry crater are a little nervous about what might happen to some of the fishing up there. But nevertheless, it is a pilot project. It's a new process. It may very well make this economically feasible to have power generation and then heating generation. We do a lot of work for Klamath Falls, so Klamath's got this great geothermal resource where their sidewalks are heated, and so they're not shoveling sidewalks. And the armory there is the armory is a museum. It's open shell. And I was in there one time. It was about 6 degrees outside. I had to take my coat off because of the thermal heat coming from the floor in there. So that's a 1920 armory. So it's an old timer, not a bit of insulation in it. So, anything else on strengths that people can think of?
Oakridge is known for bicycle.
Yeah.
For its bicycle.
Well, that's part of recreation.
But I think it's important to point out those things that we can capitalize on.
Or the mountain biking capital
Yes.
Of the Northwest.
of Northwest.
I'm trying to brag anyway.
Yeah, that's our great thing.
Well, it seems to be though too.
Well, if you're gonna bring those things in, we have a lot of trails for hiking too that are access, and also we have within a few miles, there's an ATV area.
Right. Okay. I'm just going to put ATV.
No horse trails?
Lots of horse trails.
And
Fly
questions,
fishing.
Yeah.
Okay. So the only thing I'd like to drill down a little bit on the strengths, we talk about people. I assume like a lot of rural communities, we've got a lot of people that have a whole range of skills that are being untapped right now. They can fix anything, can operate any equipment, those kinds of things. So I assume that what we've got is people is a available labor force, or do you think we have a labor force here at Oakridge that if I was going to open up a plant here and I was going to employ 150 people in the next 5 years,
No.
would I?
No.
Okay.
Nope, not unless you train them.
What big part?
Not unless you could train them.
Oh, well, you train, but is there that kind of, do we have that kind of depth of folks available up here to go to work on if a new opportunity came up?
But they would come in to fill the jobs. People would come in to fill the jobs.
Right, but I'm just wondering if we got
They're
them here.
they're not here now.
Okay,
I'd
okay,
say half of that was here now.
okay.
But if we had something like that, like Leo said, they would inflow.
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of people that travel to the valley, that if there was work available
Oh, yeah.
here, they
Commute.
probably wouldn't travel to the valley.
Right, and that's a common thing.
So, we do have people.
I think another piece of people is you have folks that are always willing and ready to volunteer to move a cause forward.
Perfect.
Yeah, volunteerism.
Even if we have to volunteer them, huh, James?
That's great. So is there anybody, when I go out in these communities, I also often find that there's talent out there that everybody's aware of that hasn't been tapped. So like, I'll pick on a place like Burns, there are handmade decoy carvers there, there's gun manufacturers out there on those ranches that are actually building guns from start. And I saw the art co-op down here, so I know we've got artists in here. Are there things going on here that
There's a brewery across the street that's actually supposed to be one of the best beers in Oregon right now.
Oh, really?
Well, I had to work tonight.
They're local artists that work out of their homes that ship things worldwide. I know of one of them that she ships stuff all over the place. I had no idea until I got to know her.
Okay, so we've got
Little
artists.
entrepreneur, yeah.
You know, one of the things like in Canyon City, there's a wheelwright, a guy that makes repairs rolling stock, which is really a unique thing. So I just wondered if there was the same thing up here. There's typically in these kind of communities, there's lots of folks that were welders at one time that convert to another.
Yeah, those there's a class over too.
Oh, okay.
And,
2 wood carvers, they carve logs and
Okay.
statues.
a couple people making ukuleles now.
Really, instrument makers, huh? Wow. Yeah, I guess there's a reinsurgent. I didn't know there was an insurgence of ukuleles, but other than back when Don Ho and we were kids.
They have a ukulele festival here.
Really? Wow. Okay.
They're down there
They're usually
practicing.
club that meets every other week too.
You miss now, you're practicing tonight.
I know, well, I'm here.
I can't spell ukulele, so I'm gonna just.
They start
So you also have a guy that does
Oh, yeah,
and
right.
he does, out of the hole, does the stuff, and down at
It's
the little market,
I
I
think
think
it's
it's
6
all
hours.
stuff in there, all metal. He does those
6
here,
hours.
it cuts metal out and makes, I mean, they're beautiful what they do, and then,
yeah.
I can't think the other guy that lives on, across from the golf course, I can't think his name right now, but did the fly fishing, made handmade.
Oh, that's right, we have the fly fishing.
Dan Craft.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yes, so we've got a lot of artisans and we even have a,
Robbie Gibson is the one.
Right, yeah.
Go ahead, Louis.
and then you've got, we've got a lot of small businesses. We have a company that ships frames, like for diplomas.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And he works right out of his house. He ships right out of his house. I mean, so we've got a lot of little stuff.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Well.
So we also have our own golf course here.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Which is.
That's important to some people,
It is. I'm not a golfer, but I know what it means to a community. That's for
but I
sure.
have friends that are.
Yeah.
They live for it.
There's also an airport,
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, the state airport.
uncontrolled, but, good.
But it's not one of the airports that they're proposing to shut down. It's not. Doesn't have a tower.
No, it's
anyway.
uncontrolled.
Yeah, so it's uncontrolled. Yeah, but you know, the ones that they are shutting down, like Troutdale, I guess that's like the 3rd or 4th busiest airport in the state. So
Well, that's just a screw with them.
yeah, well, that's private. A lot of private training coming out of there. So.
We also have the, what's that, the Offenhauser Drive or whatever.
After
it is.
Heidi.
Highway 19, it's like the top 25
What?
scenic
After
drives
Heidi.
in the nation.
Road 19.
UFCERHEIDI.
Road 19.
Under the bed. After Heidi Road?
It runs from the beginning of West First
I was
all the way
surprised.
to.
So-
Casey's and then there's all.
It's a beautiful trip.
So do
Beautiful trip during
you
the fall.
consider the
Leaves are all turned
federal,
color.
the forces
drive that, or-
presence in Oakridge? Is that
In what?
is that one
Is
of
it
your
paved?
assets?
Yeah.
Most of the time.
It's an employer right now.
Yeah.
Go to Forest Service and get a tape.
Yes, so most of the time
Describes
they are
a mile
a
points of what's going on.
collaborators, yeah.
Yeah, but aren't they also the biggest employer in?
Okay, well, we always come back and add to this, so if there's something that's missing here, keep moving on. So now's the part to talk about
This is-
our blemishes as a community.
We have none.
I knew that, I wanted to try to get some, so.
You say so.